I agree with Peter. You were saying you made a very good comment about how poorly these people are paid. No, back you 100%. I wouldn't be a councillor for all the in China.
No, that's right. Yeah,
I don't know why you do it.
Can I just sort of add that when we started, the South Waikato district started, you had 2 wards in Tokoroa with 4 councillors each, 4 in Tauru and 2 in Tirau. So when it started, if you added up, that was what, 14 councillors at the start. So already there has been a change in which it's dropped from 14 down to 10 and sort of saying, hey, where would it go? Recognise that in Pataru there was a community board and the community voted it out. It said that, okay, here is a community board that can only ask for things. It can't raise money, it doesn't have a bank account, it can only ask council, and everything that has to take place to do it. So the Pataru community said, hey, instead of having, and I was on it, instead of having a community board there, that was when Pride in Pataru started. Pride in Pataru are able to have a wide representation. They also have people, our Christians, the chemists, coming right to a community-minded people who can then do things. And they have been able to raise a tremendous amount of money outside council because they could do it. And that's meant that if you stop and look at Pataru, and what's making Pataru vibrant is in terms of what they're doing with their concept plan, working with council. And so council, all the council, Deputy Mayor and I and the Pataru Council meet with Pride in Pataru 4 times a year and sit down and go through. So they're presently doing a major concept plan which will revolutionise Pataru. They then raised the money to do the water park. Walk round the water park and see the bricks that raised from the community. Community board couldn't do that. Look at the Prattler and where it gets money from First Sovereign Trust, from the other trusts coming in through. The council can't do that. And so there was a community group that said, okay, but we're a district. And they said, right, we're really going to look at this here in Pataru and get it moving. And they have their own office. They have the person there to actually do it. So they actually then, as Pride in Pataru, got going, and instead of coming in, and if you were at our hearings, you would have heard Pataru ratepayers, the Pride in Pataru come in and give us their plans. You would have heard the Tirau Community Board come in asking for a picnic table here, this, something here, asking for these things to be done. And that's the difference as we do it. I would prefer 8 councillors. And 8 over the 2 fits in nicely to turn around and say, right, here we are, we've got a small group. And we look at the numbers floating in there. There's Tauranga City with 9. And we're really sort of saying, hey, how do we actually do that? The difference is one has to ask, the other can do.
Okay, Neil, okay, how long has Pride of Pataru been in existence, for example?
I was on the Pataru Community Board when we went to the community and said, that was it in 1998.
1998, so we're talking about
40. Didn't I go on there then? I came on the council here in 2000.
No, Pride of Pataru, we started in 1995, and Chains, we started together.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a long history, right? A long history.
If I went back to Pataru and said, let's get rid of Pride in Pataru and put a community board in,
they would shoot you first.
they'd shoot me. They would have no doubt. If we stood up and said, let's get rid of Pride in Pataru.
But to inaugurate an institution like that takes time. It does take time. You can't just stamp it out of the ground overnight and say, yeah, this is what you do. Okay? Now, with the age of the internet and information and things, okay, people say, hey, we get a business association, right? So they look only after business. Then you have another one who says the Farmers Association, the Chemist Association, you name it and it's there. But then, what Pataru has done, they have combined. They look after the whole town, not just special interest groups.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's where the problem is, Neil.
Why?
In Tokoroa, for example.
No. Peter, I'm just going to ask you.
Yeah.
How many elections have we ever had for the T-Rail Community Board?
I think I would think 8, somewhere on there.
And how many times you had an election?
Since I've been here.
You had an election last time?
Yeah.
I don't think you had an election the time before.
I think the time before that there wasn't one either.
And the time before that you didn't have one.
No, that's right, yes.
And we had to go around for the time before that and kind of find somebody to fill the spot.
That's right.
And we have actually come up short and had to
And we've had to come up and had to have a by-election because we couldn't get enough people to stand in T-Rail for the community board.
Yeah.
Whereas Prime Tararoo,
They don't have that problem.
they don't have that problem.
Can I address, Peter, can I address that?
Yeah.
Because- And the Chief Executive Officer raised it before. I went out with a candidate a month before nominations opened, because I understand the process. And I put that person's posters up on lots of places in Tokoroa. It had a groundswell of 16 people that arose to put their names in to run for the 6 council seats. I didn't work on the Tauru or T-Rail, I just concentrated here. So it's how the practitioner puts it out there. So if they're just getting a coddled together in the community board and it's going to die, because they're putting it to bed and burying it 6 feet under. If you want to grow something, like here, and this is the challenge for the next election in a year's time, is about who's going to be the next mayor in this district. Right? Now, you asked me to focus on representation there. You don't want to know about clean air, even though it's screaming out. No, but it was a fair shutdown. So my interest to you guys is, just to clarify too, your communications manager came to me yesterday and said, about the 700 people that signed their name, and said it was just for the Māori seats. No, I was promoting it back then because it also had the number of wards, the number of councillors and community boards. Now by cutting off the Māori seats, the reason there isn't 700 people, because they feel their things done and dusted and dead in the dirt. And what do you have left? They don't understand the other things, and that's just an academic thing we're talking about. So when the Local Government Commission gets a protest to say it hasn't been done properly with regards to Māori seats for this board, then, you know, that's what this meeting, this is the big brother meeting. The other ones were the smaller siblings. So let's talk about representation review, because if we do have a complaint and they then decide, because the Mayor said at T-Rail, shh, you know, you said, shh, we'll remove harmonisation and your rates will go up. So the T-Rail...
We didn't say that.
No, but I've got that picture. Mayor said, don't rock the boat, because if it does get protested, they could amalgamate us with 7 other councils.
So the Mayor said that you run the risk of that occurring.
Exactly.
Based
So
on that.
let's grasp those two things. Let's grasp them and say they are going to happen. We are going to get a protest over the Māori seats and the way it was done, and they are going to come in and completely override this elected body.
Not entirely, because what the Local Government Commission does is look at the credibility of the complaint first and foremost,
Sure they are.
and they'll make a decision on that. So,
Sure.
yeah, if there's enough evidence to warrant that the process was wrong or whatever, then they make that action.
So Peter Blake spoke yesterday and said that he was on the community board with Gordon Blake's and with Neil Sinclair, and that they disbanded it. And then I looked at them, they disbanded an elected body, but they were quite happy to go up to the district body and be elected members, even though they learnt their skills. One of the beautiful things in T-Rail was the number of past community board members over a cup of tea that came up to me and said, I used to be on the community board, and they were able to speak to the experience of being an elected person. Now, Jenny mentioned, no, we'll go with Pride and Matauru, that's a business option. However, if you're going to go that way, please step aside from being an elected member, because you focus on your non-governmental and only that. What we're interested in elected membership is someone that's able to hear the sighs of the poor in the midnight hour and express their views, not promotes individual groupings of people in the community. And so I raise that with you now, because the multi-seat thing hasn't been put to bed, and if I use the same principle that the Mayor said,